Hello, welcome to Ars Nouveau. So in this video we're gonna talk about how to get into Ars Nouveau, and how to make some of the items and a little bit of demonstration of how Ars Nouveau works and the spell. And I'm not gonna go into every small details because I wanna leave things for you to enjoy in the mod, right? So to get into Ars, the first thing you will need is some source gems, right? And these source gems you can find them by mining the source gem ore. You can find them normally, they're not into that low level, so they're very easy to find. And the first thing you want to make right out of the bat is your book, right? So to make that book you just need a book and one gem, just a singular gem. After making that book you can open the book and it will tell you a lot of things about the mod. So they will give you about how to get started on the mod and everything, right? So the first thing that they will tell you about in the book is that you make spell casting, right? So to spell cast in this mod you will want to make your first item, which is a novice book. So to make that novice book, it's simple. You can make it by one book and all of the iron items, right? Now when you make that book, to start playing the mod, to craft spells, before you even can craft new spells, you can already make a normal book. So the way it works is that you want to perform a spell. So the first thing is that where you want it to go from. So either you touch something, yourself, or projectile. These are the startup, and then we'll get more in the future. And then the effects. So you have harm right now, and then you have break. Right? So like if I get a projectile and I get break, for example, and I create something, I now can create these ores. And they drop my XP and the gem. And you can also add modifiers to it later. So that's just simply how you start doing it. Now to make more spells, right, you will want to make here, to create more spells, you want to use clays. Now these different clays that you want to get, have to put them in a processor, so the glyph processor. So that processor, which is the glyph processor, which is the second thing we want to make here. So let me just close it. So the processor, you will just need some of the arcane stones. These you make by normal stones and one gem, not a big deal. And then some of Minecraft's items, so iron and brimstone. Now you have the processor. Now you need to process something to make that. So you have tiers of different, you're using basically magic clays, and there's tiers of them. So you have tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3. Starting up, you will want to make your first tier, which is the tier 1 redstone, gems and clay ball. So simple stuff. And then you want to get that clay, right? So if I get some clay here, and you want to give it mana. So I'm using a creative one for now because we still didn't talk about mana, but just to show you. So you put mana. Now you can create spells. Now you can create tier 1 spells since you're using a tier 1 clay. So let's say you want to make something like touch, you want to put a button. So you already start the game with something like a button, but something like touch, but you might need it for different spells in the future. You put the clay, you put it, and it will start processing it, doing this cool animation using some mana. Alright, so now you know how to make it using the mana. So but the question is how to make mana, right? And now they start talking to you about mana in the mod. They start giving you a different thing. So all of the different mana types that you can make are all called something sourcing. And so the volcano one uses heat, and then you have one that uses crops, and then you have one that uses food, and last one that uses mystical items, right? And all of these will automatically give mana to a jar, which is what you give your mana. So soul shard is what you install that mana in, right? So all of these different items you can craft here. They're not that hard to craft because you want to make a lot of them. So this is gold, this is with the alchemy one, the one that eats food, and the other one, which is the last one, this one with the stone, right? And the last thing is that you want to make some jars to put these mana in. So you have these white stained glass and arcane stone. Automatically all of these things will give mana to the to one of the jars that close to them. Now how they work is different from each other. So for example, the volcano one, all you need is that it needs some wood. So for this type, you need some arc wood. So if I throw this here, start burning it, and it also can get it from pedestals, so that you can automate things in the future. For example, this one will need some crops, so just by getting crops or cutting these down or anything around it, you will get mana. And in this time, you can actually break these and move them. So you can break these and move them. And if I go to here to survival, so game mode survival, and I want a big X right here. So right now this one is 74% full. If I take it and try to place it again, it's still 74%, which is the idea of like you want to move them because you're not going to usually have them. So let's say you have a stuff, or you can start moving your mana, which we'll get into that in a bit. So now when you try to move your mana, you can move them into different items, but mainly you want to get a source relay and a dimensional wand. So you place a source relay and with the wand, and basically by right clicking it and telling this like, oh, you move from this point to this point, right click and you move them here, and now it's moving to this one. And if I get another jar and I put it here and I say you move from here to there, now it's sending. So you can do things like sending them, or you can simply move, and it moves. You see how it's fast, it moves things. And to make these small items, the dimension are, but this one you will want to make it in a different place. So this one is going to be made into the enchanting items, which we'll get into in a bit. And the source relay is simple. Now after that, you have so many different things you're gonna get into, but I just want to talk about something quick, which is something called the crystallizer. Now these crystallizers are very useful because they make you the gems automatically. So you have two options, right? These crystallizers will make you mana or the gems you're using naturally, or you can speed up the process by giving them the mana. So I'm giving them creative ones, which makes mana instantly, or one on its own, which will still make you, but it's just in a slower, it will be a little bit slower, actually a lot slower. All right, after that we'll talk about how to enchant in this mod. And usually you can enchant different, there's a lot of way, but enchanting here is a bit important because you can also use it into different things, which is for example the wand viewing. Let's just go to day here first. So to enchant, you want to make these items. So you will want some 8 pedestals all around, a core under, and the enchanting one above, and then you have a jar. It always needs mana, right? Alright, and the way that works is that if you go to your book and look at your enchanting, so let's say enchant, and anything you want to enchant, so let's say I want to put looting. So there is looting 1, 2 and 3. So if you have looting 1 on an item, you start doing the looting 2. If you have looting 2, you go 3, but you cannot skip, you have to go 1 to 3. So here it's telling me that it needs some gems, an emerald, and a potion. So if I get it a sword here, so let's say I get a sword, I put the sword in the core, it will use mana and start the animation. It will take all of these items and give me the loot that I want. So combat fish is loot 1. Alright, so this is simply how to enchant. And to make these items, the pedestals are very simple. It's just some stone, the core, stone and gold, and the last thing, stone, iron, and a diamond. Alright, after that, well, you started doing everything. You have mana, you have the spell book, you want to get stronger as making your ropes or your wizard gear, right? So now it starts with about better casting. So you can make different types of ropes. So you have tier 1 fibers. So these tier 1 fibers, you make them using something called the mage bloom seed. So these seeds are simple, but you have to use them, you have to make them using an enchanting process. So you enchant a seed and then turn it into magic seed, which will get you the magic bloom seed. Now you put these seeds and that will turn into the magic bloom. Now using these magic blooms, you can turn them into ropes. So one magic plume will turn you into one rope, which you can use this rope making a normal, it's like the same as any armor in the game, so you just use the fiber. Now you can upgrade here, so you can take two with a blaze rod and you can turn them into blaze fiber, which makes you the stronger version. So like here gives you only 2 armor, so here for example it gives you 2, here's 5, here's 6, and basically some items, and the whole setup will be strong. And then after that you can make the end fibers, which is 2 plays and using the karst root, which will give you the higher tier. Now you have the higher tier, which makes you the armor, the strongest armor, which is the arc armor, arc mage armor. Alright, so now we made our armor. Last thing I want to talk about, and we're basically done with the mod. Right now you're simply done, you know how to get into the mod, you have so many cool things to experience. I just want to talk about one thing, which is the rituals. Now I usually don't talk about rituals, but here is the reason I'm talking about rituals. So rituals, usually you have different rituals. If each ritual, basically you want to get your ritual pedestal, which is the ritual here, you make it simply like this and you make any ritual you want. So let's say for example this ritual, you put the items and you'll make the ritual and it will do something. The reason I'm talking about the ritual is that for one of the core items to upgrade yourself, your spell book, you will have to do a ritual, which we'll get into in few minutes. I am not actually gonna do the ritual. I'll maybe put a picture for the boss, but I'm not gonna do it because I want you to have fun doing the fighting the boss. But you will need something called the Wilden troop kit, I guess, and that ritual is simple to make. So naturally the table of summon of Wilden, this naturally will summon a variety of Wilden monsters. Wilden monsters are the monsters of the mod. That's naturally how to make it, you put it. But you can enhance it. If you augment it with a Wilden spike, a Wilden horn, and the Wilden wing, that will summon the boss. And the boss is very cool and very strong, so you wanna fight it in an open area. And remember, it will destroy around, so you don't want that place you put it is a place that you actually care about, right? So you just want to fight it out in the open, okay? And if you have any difficulties fighting this boss, let me know down in the comments and I'll tell you how the best ways to fight it if you want, but I'll let it for you guys to enjoy. All right, now simply everything now is done. Now this is the surface of the mod. Right now, if you talk about the mod more, I will just quick talk about it. There is a lot of automations in the mod. I have already played like I played this mod before, and there is a lot of automation. But the best part about this automation is that they're simple. They actually tell you about how to automate things, so you don't really, it's not that hard, right? They tell you all of the automations and everything. It's really cool. I'm not gonna get into the automations. I am not gonna get into the rituals or the magical items. So the magical items in this mod are like any other magic mod. It's the same idea. You make magical items that make you stronger. You make your own build. There is different varieties of items that you can make. And one more thing is that you can also make different items, which you can make an enchanting shield, which is a shield and a sword with this enchanting sword. So and here, so you can make the shield and a sword, a bow, and you can modify it with arrows. And all of these share one thing, is that you can combine all of these and use where is it, a table, the scripting table, to script things. So like it will just tell you on it that all of these can be, you can add spells using the scripts table. So you can have like a melee form or a battle mage type of build with this one. Alright, so basically we're done. This is everything you want to know about Ars Nouveau and how to get into it, and then you can have a blast playing the mod. The mod is really cool. Now I just want to give a quick demonstration about the mod. So later on when you learn most of the spells, so now you know how to learn most of the spells, and for higher tiers of spells actually you will need higher tiers of clay, and each tier you will need different things. So like let's say you open your book, so you want to go to tier 2. Tier 2 they tell you, oh, you need this or that. So here it's fireworks and stuff. Now you learned all of this, you have a book which you can also customize the book controls usually. So by default, you go to next slot with X, you go to previous slot Z, and then you open the book by C, and toggle selection is V. Toggle selection is basically picking the spells you want. And then you have a lot of different cool things. So if I open the book here, this is how the book would look like for someone. You have a lot of different cool things, so you can orbit spells around you and they will be used when there is for the right time. So you can orbit damage spells around you until mobs come close. And then you can also do something cool, which is combining spells. Like let's say for example I have a spell which is a projectile that when it hits it will do little than firework. I didn't actually think about something specific that would be cool, but you know, the idea is that you can combine things and the damage on them are actually decent, and you can always modify yourself. And then you can modify yourself with mana. You can modify your armor with mana here, to mana regen and mana boost, and then you can modify yourself by getting the mystical items that you can wear as purple. Alright, so that's basically it for Ars Nouveau. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and if you guys have any other questions, leave it in the comments down below. Alright, bye.